Okay, I think, Nico, you ready?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, wherever you're ready, we can begin.
Okay, the motion is to we're gonna open the meeting, then let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
liberty, and justice for all.
We'll be in sync some night.
Yeah, we need to practice more.
Can we get a roll call?
Councilor Bergman,
Here.
Councilor Calorio,
Here.
Councilor King. Councilor Mayor Carlson,
Here.
Councilor Rivera,
Here.
Councilor Rose,
Here.
Councilor Rosen,
Here.
Councilor Russell,
Here.
Councilor Toomey,
Here.
Councilor Wally,
Here.
and Mayor Petty.
Here. Okay, just have a proclamation read for Black History Month. Whereas Black History Month, first proposed by the scholar Carter G. Woodson in 1926, is observed in February of each year. Whereas 50 years after the first celebration during America's bicentennial in 1976, President Gerald Ford proclaimed February as National African American History Month, urging Americans to seize the opportunity to honor too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. And whereas February marks the observance of many other important milestones in African American history, on February 1st, 1865, Abraham Lincoln signed the 15th Amendment abolishing slavery, known today as National Freedom Day. The 15th Amendment granting Black men the right to vote was adopted on February 3rd, 1870. And February 12th, 1909, the NAACP was founded. And on February 25th, 1870, Aaron Rose the first Black U.S. Senator took oath of office. I think some of this little background noise, that's it. Whereas special recognition is given to local icons such as Bethany Venny and Sarah Ella Wilson, well-known African Americans in Worcester who contributed to the community. And whereas Bethany Venny is remembered as an abolitionist, author, beloved community member, as the oldest resident of Worcester, Mass. At the time of her death in 1915 at 103 years of old. Bethany was born a slave after living for a short time in Providence, Rhode Island. Venny settled in Worcester, Mass. with her daughter and 3 grandchildren. Bethany Venny published the narrative of Bethany Venny, a slave woman, in 1889, over 20 years after slavery was abolished. Whereas Sarah Ella Wilson, the daughter of George and Elizabeth Wilson, was born in Worcester, Mass. in 1874. She was an active member of the community, was one of the first African-American school teachers in Worcester. She taught first grade at the Belmont Street Elementary School from 1895 to 1944. Sarah was a member of the Worcester's Women's Progressive Club and the vice president of the Home of the Aged Colored People. In 1972, the Belmont Street Community School named its library after her. In 1974, Connie Bostick published a book about Wilson entitled Onward and Upward. Whereas it's important us to remember that Black History Month seeks to rightfully restore the struggles and triumphs of African Americans into our national narrative. While the work is far from finished, Woodson's vision and all who have upheld his cause have helped us tell the whole story of America and everyone who built it. Without the struggles of African Americans, the story of America is incomplete. Whereas history reminds us that between 1863 and 1865, hundreds of Black men fought in the American Civil War, died as enlisted men in the United States colored troops, seeking life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness as a free people. And whereas after 1865, the ratification of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments to the United States Constitution, complete freedom and civil rights granted to previously enslaved men, women, and children, was subverted by brutal Jim Crow laws, preventing the ability to pursue life, liberty, and happiness in full free citizens. And whereas between 1954 and 1968, African-American activists, in particular women, spearheaded the civil rights movement, fought for social justice, constitutional rights, organized sit-ins, workshop boycotts, and grassroots campaigns. And whereas the attacks on the 14th and 15th Amendments to the United States Constitution continue to persist in the 21st century for African Americans. Whereas it is time for us to continue our collective journey of honoring and deepening our knowledge of the history and contributions of African Americans and people of African American descent that have been marginalized because of the country's legacy of slavery, institutional and structural racism. The observance of Black History Month calls our attention to the continued need to battle racism and build a society that lives up to its democratic ideals. And whereas the City of Worcester continues to acknowledge and honor the contribution of African Americans and continue to make our nation's economic strength as well as our history. And whereas we continue to work forward to become an inclusive community in which all people, past, present, and future, are respected and recognized for their contribution. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Joseph M. Petty, hereby proclaim the month of February 2021 as Black History Month in the City of Worcester, in the City Council, city agencies, staff, and all residents hereby acknowledge and celebrate the contributions of the City of Worcester's Commonwealth of Massachusetts, United States, made by African Americans. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Next item up is approval of the minutes. Adopting the roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Caloria?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Mayor Carlson?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Rosen?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
Councilor Wally?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty.
Yes. Item number 6, public participation. A person may speak for no more than 2 minutes on any item on the agenda. Is AJ on? Or?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I am.
AJ, how many people we have on committee?
It looks like at this time we got about 15 people, if I have it correct.
Okay, you find a mix of city workers and people. Okay. So let's start. Our first call.
Very good. Let's see here. The first person I can identify is Benjamin Desjardins. I'll unmute Benjamin now.
Hi, Benjamin Desjardins. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm Ben Desjardins. I live in Worcester in the 4th District. I'm calling in regarding agenda item 8.34B regarding reallocations from citywide to police capital equipment and from citywide to police building rehabilitation funds. The capital budget, as I understand it, is designed to be a multi-year proposal reflecting the collective priorities of our community. This item then reads to me as a failure to recognize the need for increased police assets in the budget process, resulting in a request for this additional $114,000, an increase of 17.8% to the fiscal year 21 borrowing. If this is an incorrect read of the proposal and budget situation, I welcome correction, as this appears to be rather troubling. If I told my boss that my budget was off by nearly 18%, and could I pretty please have $100,000 to make up the difference, I doubt I'd get a favorable response. That aside, concerning the WPD are often rubber stamped here, if that does happen, I'd like to pivot to its impact on sustainability. In the Green Worcester Plan, Chapter 6.D.6.3, city fleet vehicles exiting service should be replaced with electric vehicles to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, with funding available through national grid programs and as approved by the State Department of Public Utilities. In my work with the Clark University Police Department and Clark Administration's Budget Office regarding the introduction of hybrid vehicles in the shuttle service fleet, I found that each vehicle replaced with an electric hybrid vehicle saved over $1,000 and over 8 tons of carbon dioxide emissions per year. Other cities have found 6 with hybrid and electric vehicles, including purpose hybrid Ford Interceptors, and Boston in particular is looking to fully electrify their municipal fleet by 2030. In addition to their emissions reduction, these vehicles have remarkably quick action and silent movement and face no difficulties with mileage limits, according to police chiefs in cities that have begun using them. Tacoma, Washington, for example, has added 34 hybrid Interceptors to their fleet at a 40% savings on fuel, and Denver, Colorado has already added 200 hybrid vehicles to its fleet of 3,200 city vehicles. I would be happy to discuss this further and have added this statement and some source links to an email I've just sent to all of you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, AJ, our next speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next person I can identify as a call-in user. So could all call-in users please state their names? Mr. Mayor, not hearing that call-in user. Oh. Not hearing that call-in user, we'll move on to the next person. Could you please state your name if you're on a phone?
Andrew Ahern?
I heard an Andrew Ahern.
Yes, thank you. My name is Andrew Ahern. I'm a resident of Worcester, and I also work in the city. I'd like to speak on agenda items 11A through D. To start, I'd like to speak on agenda items 11B and 11D in support of Councillor King's call for our request for the city manager to look into ways to speed up the timelines of some of the goals and objectives in the Green Worcester Plan. As the IPCC warns us, we only have until 2030 to have global carbon emissions, and accelerating some of those timelines laid out in the Green Worcester Plan is not only doable, but also needed to ensure that my generation and future generations live in a habitable planet. Speaking on that, I would also really like to support Councillor King's request for the city manager to find ways to further engage youth in climate change, since it is our generation who will bear the biggest burden of climate change. The Green Worcester Plan only was only able to survey 32 youth in the Green Worcester Plan survey. I think we can all agree that that's not a substantial enough number. Youth should be a vital part of the process. Anything climate or citywide related, youth really need to be a voice that's at the table and part of the process. And then I would also just like to speak on 11A and 11C, particularly around the concerns of electrification versus gas in Doherty High School and in regular homes across the city. Myself and a group of Worcester residents have been involved in a program with the Rocky Mountain Institute for accelerating electrification in buildings. And we would just really like to reach out to city councilors and the city manager and others to lend our support and lend our knowledge and resources for the many benefits that electrification poses, and the use of heat pumps as well towards the Green Worcester Plan goals, health goals, and also the bigger goal of combating climate change. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, AJ?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It looks like we have another call-in user. So once again, could all people on phone state their names?
Nate?
We heard of Nate.
Yep. Hi, I'm Nate from Dudley. I work in the commercial construction industry in and around Worcester, and I've spent several years as a program volunteer and serving on the board of directors for a Worcester youth organization called Main Idea. And I'd like to speak on agenda items, I believe, are 11B and 11D regarding the Green Worcester Plan.
Nate, can we just get your full name, please, for the record?
Yes, it's Nathaniel Homer, Homer.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
No problem. I just want to stress how important it is to the health and the future of the city to do everything we possibly can to get more of the youth involved in civic action. Particularly regarding the climate crisis. I think they have the least amount of input and responsibility for the crisis, yet they have the greatest amount of exposure to the severe consequences. And I also want to recognize how vital good-paying construction and engineering-related jobs are to the city's economy. The American Institute for Architects recently issued a report saying commercial construction will see a pretty big downturn in the next couple of years. And I think the best way to sort of fight against that is to shift the focus of the city to accelerating all the timelines in the Green Worcester Plan and try to create as many new renewable energy sector jobs as possible. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, AJ?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let's see, the next person I can identify is an Erin Bryan. I'll unmute Erin now.
Hello, my name is Erin Bryan. I live on Lee Street in Worcester, and I would also like to speak on agenda items 11B and 11D as they concern the Green Worcester Plan. Similar to people before, I would also like to echo my support for Councillor King's request for the city manager to find ways to further engage youth in climate change and also to accelerate the timelines of the Green Worcester Plan by at least 5 years. I think hearing a lot of the discussion at the last meeting about the Green Worcester Plan, it is clear that there's a lot more that can be done with this, and I am very pleased to see that the conversation is ongoing, and I look forward to seeing how much more ambitious this plan can get. Thank you.
Thank you. AJ?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next person I can identify is Gwen Wessinger.
Hi, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So hi, my name is Gwen Weisinger. I'm also a resident of Worcester on Green Hill Parkway and a hub coordinator with Sunrise Worcester. I'm also calling to speak on agenda items 11B and 11D as it concerns the Green Worcester plan. I'd like to voice my support for Councillor King's request to the city manager to look into ways that the timelines for the Green Worcester plan can be achieved at least 5 years sooner. To echo what Erin just said, our organization is really happy to see the councillors consider feedback that's been suggested by the city's youth and other community members about making the Green Worcester plan more ambitious. Councillor King, thank you so much for bringing forth this request, and I urge the council to vote in favor of an accelerated timeline. The more ambitious that you all are today in creating a sustainable, just, and equitable Worcester, the less of a burden that we'll inherit in the decades to come. So thank you. And I would also like to support Councillor King's request for the city manager to find ways to further engage youth in strategizing about our response to the climate crisis. We are passionate about creating a sustainable future for ourselves and upcoming generations. We're willing to put in the time and energy to offer meaningful input, and we deserve a seat at the table. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, AJ?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next person I can identify is Judy Diamondstone.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Judy, go ahead. Just your name and city residence.
This is Judy Diamondstone. I live in Worcester. And I also want to speak on items 11A, B, C, and D. I support all the orders and thank the councilors for introducing them, but I want to focus on 11A. I am also a member of the Building Electrification Accelerator team here in Worcester, we focus on the low-lying fruit. So building all we are pushing for all electric new buildings and major renovations where electrification is clearly cost effective. And I would like to share recent cost comparisons of all electric versus gas with this council. I'm happy to do that via email. Admittedly, converting buildings from gas to electricity is more complicated than all electric new construction. And I want to emphasize that a new net zero stretch code in the climate bill that is again in front of Governor Baker would enable municipalities to begin building all-electric new buildings as well as retrofitting and weatherizing homes. So we need that new net zero stretch code to support state-level investment in retrofits, and we are asking councilors to sign on to that. To the climate bill. I'd also like to ask the city manager through the mayor, I think that's how it's done, what process will be used to provide the report that Councillor Calorio requested on converting home heating from gas to electricity. And would it be the city energy department that would do that report, or would you hire a consultant via an RFP?
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your comment. AJ?
Mr. Mayor, the next person I can identify is a Mary McKenzie. I'll unmute Mary now.
Even though they're all really cute and creative, and I was bombing them.
Not hearing Mary, we can move on to a Monica Sager.
Hi, I'm here with the media.
Okay, Monica, thank you.
All right, the next person then would be Natalie Larea.
Hi, my name is Natalie Larea, and I'm a resident of Worcester at Worcester Polytechnic Institute. I want to speak on items 11B and 11D as it concerns the Green Worcester plan. I want to voice my support for Councillor King's request for the city manager to look into ways the timelines of the Green Worcester plan can be achieved at least sooner. As other people have already said, the IPCC warns us that we have until 2030 to have global carbon emissions to stay within safe levels of global climate change. Accelerating our timelines by at least 5 years is the least we can do to ensure my generation and future generations have a habitable planet. I would like you to see an even shorter timeline of targets if possible, but I do support Councilor King's request. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, AJ.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next person I can identify is a Nick DeAndrea.
Nick?
I just unmuted Nick now.
Okay.
No, I'm just listening.
You're not hearing Nick?
Oh, no, I can hear you.
Listening. Okay, thank you. Very good. So the next person I can identify is a Paul Poppenshock.
Good evening. Good evening. My name is Paul Poppenshock. I'm a resident of Worcester. I live at 34 Midland Street. I'm a member of 350 Central Mass and the Worcester Electrification Accelerator Task Force. I'm calling in tonight to support Councilor King's item 11B to move up the implementation of the Green Worcester Plan. Item C, Councilor Russell's request for a detailed cost analysis of electric heat. And item 12, item 11D, to engage youth in the city green plan. Regarding acceleration, as the previous speakers have mentioned, there's no time to waste in being aggressive about implementing greater environmental responsibility here in the city of Worcester. And this could be reflected in changing the timeline of the Worcester Green Plan implementation date. Regarding the details of electric costs for Doherty High School, Doherty High School is has a large surface area to volume ratio, and the way it is designed, the core of that building will require cooling year-round because of its large internal area that will be experiencing heating from heat, lights, computers, and people, whereas the classroom wings have a large surface area, and this is the perfect arrangement to get maximum efficiency from electric heat pumps, where they can work in the simultaneous heating and cooling mode. When doing an analysis of that energy cost, I encourage you to use not only the commodity cost of natural gas and electricity, but also to include a proxy cost per ton of carbon. The Portland Energy Commission is using a price of around $25 a ton, and the European Union price may be currently in the range of $35 to $40 a ton. The point is that these emissions have cost externalities that would best be reflected by including a proxy cost to show what the true cost of using natural gas for Doherty High School would be.
Thank you, Paul. Can you wrap up your comments?
Yes, and please engage the youth to the extent possible. It's their future we're discussing and planning and affecting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, AJ.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just for the record, Yenny DeRoche, we can't unmute you. It looks like your audio isn't hooked up. But let's see. The next person I can identify is Walter and Susan Burns. I'll unmute them now.
Yes, my name is Walter Burns. My wife Susan's here, talking about the property on Luther Ave, 9B, on your agenda tonight. A year and a half ago, I have to wear a mask. I only go one long, so I hope you can hear me. I have people in the house. A year and a half ago, we met with the council. They voted on us to meet with Mr. Musi, God rest his soul. We tried on numerous occasions to get together with him and Councilman Sean Rose, and we were told to hire a lawyer. We hired a lawyer, and then the virus came in, and we never got together. It's been over a year and a half. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago with Councilman Russell, a few of the other councilmen, and Russ Adams on the condition of a land. Our land was listed 4 ways through the city. We have 3 lots that were grandfathered in through the city when we purchased the land in '82. over the years, the land has been, there was a big water main break on the top of Tornado Ave that all the local papers, helicopters came and filmed it. It kind of threw a lot of debris on our land. Then from step to step, we fought about the water being put on our land. So in 2017, when they come down and put the sewers in, it was stated to meet Phoebe Way, but it's also to meet, it was meant to meet Assumption College and their needs. So we had a meeting a week and a half ago. We were supposed to explain. I got the maps, I got films, I got pictures, I got everything. And we were told that it was going to be put off later in the meeting. And then all of a sudden they took a vote and voted against this. The same thing that they have tonight, to vote against this. But what I'm trying to say is we haven't been given a just chance to prove ourselves to what's going on here with the destruction of the land. The land size has changed. The Belazar, who did the work down here on the public streets, when the city put a drainage system into our land, said it should have never been put there. Their engineer said, and their foreman said, they should have said it should have went right into the drain system. There was no need of what they were doing to our land. So in the case of that, our land has been deemed wetlands. And at the meeting, Mr. Russell asked Russ Adams, is there any written identification that states anything about this problem? He said, not that I think of. And I tried to get in and kept raising my hand saying he's wrong. The Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, BRB WPA Form 3, second page. It talks about the wetlands because Russ Adams stated this will not always be the wetlands. I don't know how you can make a statement with that because the water keeps pouring on our property from what the city did. It's killing all the earth trees, et cetera, et cetera. Now, this is the contractor, the engineers, everybody for the street. We're saying how this wrong is it. So on an evaluation methodology of wetlands, you can't dispute it. All wetlands presume significance, so there is no need to conduct evaluations of rankings. So the state's regulations are structured to take into consideration functions. So if it's wetlands, it's wetlands. You can't say, oh, it's not going to be wetlands or down the road wetlands. Then it says exempted activities from wetlands. The Wetland Protection Act exempts those activities undertaken in the course of maintaining, repairing, or replacing, but not substantially changing or enlarging an existing or lawfully located structure or facility used by the city, such as for the public and the use to provide electric, gas, sewer, water, telephone, telegraph, and other telecommunication services. It states right here that wetlands, and if I'm talking loud, excuse me, because I got the mask on and I don't know if you can hear me. So it states right here that wetlands are exempt from any type of payment for any sewer, et cetera, et cetera. So I know on this tonight that it says to vote against us. My thing is, we've been never given a fair hearing, and we've been never given a chance to express ourselves in full. Like I said, we have film. We got water coming over. We got the land. We got 1,000 things to present, and we haven't been given a chance. And it's hard to do this over the computer because I don't know if you can see, like, here's the wetlands. Here's a picture of our land. It's 3 lots. They had it down as one big lot for the, I forget what department it was. It was, I can't read it, my eyes. But anyways, it's 3 lots. In the first lot, they're all supposed to be 1,200 square feet. The first lot is under 400 square feet that we have as land. The second lot is about 170 square feet in the corner. And the third lot is under 500 square feet. So realistically and legally, they're charging us from something that should not be happening. And another issue I have, I sent a thing in 2017 to the tax department that say we want to be, if we lose the case, this is how long we've been fighting this case, that we want to pay over a 20-year period. So now they never sent us a bill. They keep putting interest on $36,000, and it's not even $36,000 because the measurements have changed. And they now they have it up to $56,000. And I believe that we're being biased and prejudiced against, because the other times I've argued with the city, fought against the city, and things like this. This is very unlawful, and it's discriminative against, I believe, against us.
Okay.
And,
we're going to address this a little bit later on in the meeting, but right after, probably we'll skip over to this after the open comment period. Is that okay, Mr. Constable? Okay. Okay, we'll probably go out of order after we finish the open part of this meeting. So thank you for your comments, and hang on. So AJ, anybody else?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It looks like Yenny was able to get the audio synced up, so let me unmute them now.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Yenny DeRoche. I'm in District 5. I wasn't planning on speaking to any of the items tonight, but I was looking through the food insecurity transmission of information, and it shows in there that there's only been about $500,000 allocated towards food insecurity related things, and it strikes me as unacceptable, frankly, to only have put in $500,000 from the CARES Act, where we've put $14 million into the ballpark last week, which is a project that is in progress and we need to continue funding on, but that's $14 million. And this week there's close to $3 million on this agenda. It's really disheartening to see the city not supporting the people as much as they need to be supported through this. $500,000 over the course of the time of the pandemic is unacceptable. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's everyone I'm able to identify.
Okay, it's good. Well, thank you very much. And we'll close this part of the meeting. And we do have petitions. So petition 7A, B, we take 7A and B. Councilor Toomey has reduced it from 7C. So we'll do 7A and B together. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Caloria?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Moore Carlson?
Yes.
Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Rosen?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Okay.
Councilor Toomey?
Okay, go ahead.
Councilor Wally?
Yes.
Mayor Petty?
Yes, so we're going to take 7C on the roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Caloria?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Moore Carlson?
Yes.
Councilor Moore Carlson?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Rosen?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey has recused herself, and Councilor Wally?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes. Okay, the motions, we'll take a motion to suspend the rules to go to 9B. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Caloria?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Moore Carlson?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Rosen?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
Councilor Wally?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes. Upon the report of the Committee on Public Works upon the petition of Susan Burns and Mary Landry, request that the abatement of sewer betterment 31247 in the amount of $36,000 for Worcester Ave. Recommend petition be denied. Councilor Rose? No, I'm sorry. We'll go with Councilor Rose Howard, then we'll go to Councilor Russell. Is that okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have talked to this resident on numerous occasions. This has been going on a very, very, very long time. I don't want to
continue the process of elongating addressing this issue. However, he has a lot of, and the family has information and documentation and video. I'm just wondering if it makes sense to push it back to the Public Works Committee so that he can present his argument. He has a lawyer. In a lot of the different documentations and things. Talking to him, he doesn't feel like he had a good opportunity to speak, as you can hear. He's got to go, talk with a mask on and a computer. He has his son helping him, and I just think that pushing this back and helping him get everything that he needs to the Public Works Committee help his case a little bit better. I think if it were a different time, we maybe have a different outcome of, what the administration is suggesting. So I just want to have due diligence there and afford him the opportunity to provide, the information.
Okay.
On behalf of this situation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Councilor Rose, you're cutting out. We heard you though, but you're cutting out in and out a little bit there, just to let you know. And Councilor Russell, do you want to take that back?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may address this, first of all, I have no problem sending it back to the committee. But before the committee calls the item again, quite frankly, I'm looking for some guidance from the law department on this and from our professional folks at Public Works. This is not really a decision that the Public Works Committee or any councilors deal with on a, overall. What we're looking for is the recommendations of where we can grant these abatements. And as long as I've been on the committee, which is going on 10 years now, is that we've taken the recommendations of our professional staff, be it the Public Works staff, and we go up a notch, if you will, and go to the law department too for advice if need be. And the bottom line is I agree with this petitioner. I apologize to the petitioner if he wasn't heard at the time when the item was up, when we were doing the virtual meeting this time on this specific item, because we took all the items in the beginning of the meeting under public participation, and then we had our discussion afterwards. So that's where the mix-up was that he was waiting to be heard, and I quite frankly thought that we had already heard from everyone that was in the that wanted to be heard under the public participation part of the meeting. But the bottom line is that the Public Works Committee, at least myself as chairman, more than happy to grant abatements if we can legally do it. But we need to have the commission, the Commissioner of Public Works and the law department tell us what our boundaries are. And so far, they've been telling us that legally we cannot grant this petition. I agree. It doesn't make sense for somebody to be given a big assessment when he's got land that's virtually unusable. And I had a long discussion at this committee meeting, even though Mr. Burns wasn't able to interact with the discussion at the time because we thought it was over at the public participation part. But I had back and forth with Mr. Adams from the Public Works Department saying to him that this doesn't make sense. Why would we be assessing folks that have property that's virtually unusable? But he's telling us, and they're telling us, that we don't have any legal grounds to grant this abatement. So before, I have no problem with it going back to Public Works. In fact, I'd love for it to come back to Public Works. But before it's heard, before it's called for an item on the agenda, I want a detailed report from the law department, Mr. Chairman, and a detailed report from our Public Works staff telling us what we can legally and cannot, what our boundaries are legally.
Sure.
Because we'd love to accommodate them.
Thank you, Councilor Russell. I think we have Councilor King and Bergman headed up. I'm not positive, but okay. Councilor King?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just had a question regarding this report. If it's in fact sent back, is that sort of like a
it's a recommit.
It's a recommit, but is it like a reconsideration? Does it erase the decision? What does it do sending it back?
It makes it like the decision never occurred.
Okay.
So we're going to recommit it back to Public Works for another hearing.
All right, thank you. I certainly support that. And, you know, I agree that we'd like to see a favorable resolution here. But in addition to Councilor Russell's ask on what we're able to do, I'd also like, as part of that report from the solicitor, what happens if we do grant some sort of abatement when we're not sanctioned or whatever the terminology is to do so. So not only can we, but if we do, what does that mean, and what's the consequences to that, Mr. Chairman? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bergman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't want to jump into something I know less about than the subcommittee. The only question I have is a procedural one, which is that if the Burns and Landry request is for $36,000 and it's entertained, I'm not saying it would be. I heard the petitioner say that it's now ballooned into something over $50,000, so with interest and penalties. So I think the abatement he's asking for is the total amount. So if it goes back, I think it should just go back with the correct amount, and not with an amount that, even if relief is given, it wouldn't be enough to erase the debt. That's my only comment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to recommit that back. We got a couple of reports from the Fire Department, and then also one report from Public Works. Okay. All set. So they'll put the reports for asked. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Kaloya?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Carlson?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilor Rosen?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
Councilor Wally?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes. Okay, we're going to go back to we did petitions, we're on appointments. Treasury information communication of the appointment of Drew Wazat to the Hope Cemetery Commission. Andrew, thank you for your service, much appreciated on behalf of the council. The manager. Treasury information communication of the appointment of Erin Zamaro to the Parks Commission. Erin, thank you for your service, much appreciated on behalf of the council and the city manager. Treasury information communication of the appointment of Brandon Lewis to Worcester Arts Council. Thank you, Brandon, and again, thank you on behalf of the Worcester City Council and the city manager. And D, information communication of the appointments of Denise Marios Lacior, Jeffrey Camuso, Scott Derry, and Peter Derry as constables for the city of Worcester. So thank you for your service. With that, we can file A, B, C, and D of 8.1. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Kaloya?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Carlson?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Rosen?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
Councilor Wally?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes. Just ask if you're not speaking to mute yourselves, only because we're picking up a lot of paper noises and stuff. Okay, we are on. Next item up is transmitting information communication relative update on the Columbus Park. Councilor King, that's it here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to hold this communication and would also like to request that the administration cease the pursuit of approval through the Conservation Commission until we're finished with our process.
I'm not sure we can do that, but I'm not sure. Mr. Manager?
You know, we have been moving forward with the process. We have the grant from the Land and Water Conservation. We have all the approvals except for the last approval through the Conservation Commission. And if we're going to keep the schedule that we're on, we need to continue to move. There's no other approvals we need from the city council. We're answering questions as the council presents them, and that's what this communication is. But we don't need any other approvals to move forward other than from the Conservation Commission, which we had it on the agenda for the last meeting. There was a last-minute request for some interpretive services, so we put it off until that request could be met at the next meeting. But there really is nothing to stop. And I would like to see the process continue to move forward. We're happy to answer any questions the council has, but the council's already approved all of the loan authorizations, the grant applications, et cetera. So there are no more approvals necessary other than the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
My request stands, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, there's a motion. Okay. And Council Cora, Council Toomey, have your hand up.
Thank you. Through the chair to the city manager, could you just refresh my memory? Because I'm not sure I was on the council at the time. When was the original vote taken on this item? Through the chair to the city manager.
You know, the assistant commissioner is on. He might remember the particular dates. Some of the money was included in last year's capital budget to have the city's portion of the borrowing provided for, and then there would have been a council vote to pursue the Land and Water Conservation Grant that we were successful in pursuing. So that would have happened sometime prior to that. So those would be the two votes, but maybe Assistant Commissioner Antonelli has those handy.
To the chair, to the councilor, that item was approved by the council back in 2019. My recollection is May. I do not have it sitting in front of me, but I think it was May of 2019 or April 2019.
And through the chair to the city council, was that a unanimous vote on that in 2019? I was not part of the committee then, so just curious. Do we have that?
Through the chair, to my recollection, it was a unanimous vote.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion. We're going to hold the item. We have a motion to ask the city manager to delay the hearing at the Conservation Committee. I think you got that right. And so we have a roll call on that. Roll call.
Council Bergman?
Mr. Chairman, point of order. Is this a vote to hold, or is this vote for the motion that was presented?
Okay, the hold is Council King has held this under privilege. This is a vote for Council King's motion to ask a delay of the Conservation Committee.
Thank you for the explanation. Thank you.
No.
Mr. Chairman, Councilor Carlson, I need to recuse myself from this.
Okay, Councilor, sorry about that. Okay, Councilor Carlson's recused, so we'll start the vote over. And Mr. Clark?
Councilor Bergman?
No.
Councilor Caloria?
No.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Carlson recused herself. Councilor Rivera? Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
No.
Councilor Rosen?
No.
Councilor Russell? Councilor Russell?
You're muted, Councilor.
No. Councilor Toomey?
No.
Councilor Wally?
No.
And Mayor Petty?
No. Okay. So going down to our next item, transmitting information communication of the state of the food insecurity in Worcester. So I just want to say, Dr. Steele and everyone, thank you for this report. This is more than this is a good coordinated effort handling food insecurity with the city of Worcester, the Worcester, I'm sorry, I'll get you with the 1 second. And the Worcester Together group that really Councilor Rivera led off back in March of last year. And it's really come together well, working with Tim Garvin, who coordinates that, and raising money. The money spent for the most vulnerable here in the people of the city is probably spent over, the city manager probably have a better number than I do, but I want to say over $10 million anyways. and on the most vulnerable here in the city. And this is a coordinated effort, and it's still continuing today with continued fundraising efforts by that group and other groups. And I'm pretty proud. We built a network here in the city of Worcester. We really have. And other communities have done what we've done. In fact, other communities are trying to find out what we did and try to also implement it in their cities. So I just want to say thank you to this community. I want to thank to Maddie Castile for putting this report on and the efforts she put on to make this all happen for the city of Worcester. Mr. Manager, do you want to say something first? Or?
I appreciate what you said. This really has been a community effort. We have many food banks, food pantries rather, throughout our neighborhoods that are run by CDCs, by churches, by other community-based organizations. They're supported in many cases, by the Worcester County Food Bank. We support many of those organizations too through our regular block grant, not just through the COVID dollars that we're talking about here, but through our regular annual allotment of block grant dollars that supports that infrastructure that's in place even in non-COVID times, which was particularly taxed during this COVID period. And as you mentioned, the Worcester Foundations, the Greater Worcester Community Foundation, United Way, came together, raised over $10 million. Much of that has gone to support food. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts has added specifically to doing food boxes, hot meal distribution to folks who are diagnosed with COVID or are quarantined because of an exposure to COVID. And we've talked about this, supporting some of our local businesses and purchasing in those local restaurants that then deliver those hot meals to folks who are in that quarantined or isolated situation. The federal government has increased SNAP benefits and other food-related support. So there's a lot of effort. The $500,000 that we're talking about with the COVID is about looking at what else is available and where does the city need to plug in. So we did more on rental assistance and other things with our block grant, more on homeless services, because those were places that there weren't other funding sources that could fit the needs there. There was a lot of other resources coming in on food, so we participated, but maybe in a smaller amount because we had other community partners that were able to participate. It's all about trying to take all of our partners and figure out what is the best kind of mixing and matching of dollars to most effectively deliver the safety net services that folks in our community need. And I think we've done that. And Dr. Castile, the folks from Together for Worcester, our block grant staff, I think do a very good job staying plugged into what the needs of the community are and staying nimble so that we can be flexible. We just added $100,000 to that hot meal delivery program. Again, that isn't even mentioned in this report, but that goes to food insecurity and meeting those needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. We have Councilor Rivera, followed by Councilor King.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, I think you said it really well, Mr. Chairman. I've been really proud of this community, how it's come together. And just like the city managers mentioned, it doesn't even talk about the hot meals program, which has been amazing. We're talking about people that were really sick, that would not be able to get out and not have a form of transportation, and were very ill, were COVID. I mean, that's been amazing. I forgot the number. It's like, I just was in the meeting on Monday. I can't remember the number, but it was an astronomical number of the meals that have been prepared. And right now they're gathering testimonials right now from businesses and participants. And so this is how businesses stay afloat, as well as help provide hot meals with people who've been sick. But also just the whole issue of security, of food insecurities has been an ongoing issue. And I want to also just talk about different things like the community fridge that just went up like a week ago at Fantastic Pizza on Main Street, which was a collaboration with communities, organizations like The Bridge and other things that have come and put this community fridge. So you have 5% of all their proceeds, Fantastic Pizza goes in there. People can donate and food goes in every day. People could go. I mean, it's just, those are the kinds of things that are amazing. But even prior to this, I want to just highlight Mr. Chairman, you know, things that we worked on together and you did also, like the urban agriculture and really looking at long-term sustainability, because as helpful as these meal boxes and all of this are, we need to think about long-term sustainability. And I want community to know that even prior to this, looking at I think the Green Worcester Plan really addresses this. I think looking at what the urban agricultural ordinance that we worked on prior to that the mayor and I worked on together, and the mayor did some really great work with community folks. This is all on sustainability. There's just an amazing collaboration. It's businesses, community, just everyday folks. I've been really, really proud. I think what the mayor, just what the chairman just said, I've been really, really proud of this community, how they've come together. I've known people making delivery weekend. I know people that work in food bank. I've seen the work that organizations like South Worcester, Friendly House continue to do. It's just been amazing to see people just really come together and do this work to make sure that we're really trying to address this issue of food insecurity. So I really want to thank the administration because this administration's continued. I know that we're never going to get everything perfect 100%, but I want to say that during this time of COVID, this administration, the city manager and his staff, Public Health and Human Services has been just out of the box thinkers, as well as their ED department. So, you know, like he mentioned, rental assistance or whatever that is, but really looking at how do we help our community? How do we help those that are struggling? What do we do? How can we do more? How can we come together? We're never resting. We're never saying, well, we did this and people should be comfortable. We're constant. This report shows there's always a constant thinking. And just like you said, Mr. Chairman, we should feel really proud of this community and how they've come together, and this administration, and how we've really have put this community in the front line to say, you matter, you're a priority, and we want to make sure that if I have something to eat, you have something to eat, and not just whatever, but if I have a healthy meal, I want to make sure you have a healthy meal. And there's a whole group working on this constantly, and it doesn't matter who you are, whether you are documented or not, whatever situation, you're a single parent, full family, working but just barely making it, there's no questions asked. Like, people are coming together, and then people are doing, even from the little they have, are contributing. And this community fridge, for example, is a really perfect example of that. So I just want to really thank this community. I really want to thank this administration, and really want to thank Dr. Costello in this great report. It makes us proud. This is one of those things we should feel really proud to be part of a city like Worcester. Thank you.
Well said. Councilor King, followed by Councilor Rose, followed by Councilor Wall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to first acknowledge the forward thinking of my colleagues who filed this order, Rosen-Wally, Calorio, Toomey, Rose, Merrill, Carlson, as it relates to food insecurity during COVID and beyond. And I just want to say that it's always been the conscience of this council to have this on our minds and in our values. That being said, there's nothing that says we can't.
Are you on, Christian? I think you cut out there. Hang on.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't know what you heard, but I said that there's not. I said that being said, there's nothing that says that we can't do better or do differently as we continue to grow and learn about all of this. I wanted to kind of point out some of the strengths of this particular act, the public-private partnership. And kudos to the administration and to Dr. Castile and Health and Human Services folks. You know, you think about, as mentioned, the CDBG funding. Those folks that have received that, rolling up their sleeves and getting involved, and really how it plays out. Places like UWINK's Worcester Family Resource Center, then the Worcester Community Action getting involved, Woo Rides, Legendary Legacies, Black and Latino-owned restaurants, getting reimbursed not even paid up front in this endeavor. Main South CDCs. You know, you mentioned the Hot Meals program that we talked about earlier, but this is a moving target, and I know firsthand, being out there on the front lines as a social worker and in the community and in these homes, that this is an everyday challenge right now. People are afraid to leave their homes. People are afraid to avail themselves and stand in lines at times. You know, and we have a lot of great partners here in the city. And, you know, we also have programs that are evolving out of all of this. We have a Together We Eat program that's on the verge of coming to fruition, talking about hydroponic farming, and really getting our youth involved and getting our seniors involved, in really, you know, being self-sustaining. And, you know, it's those sorts of thinking that really goes a long way. You know, you think about the food deserts that we do have, but being able to take 100% of what's grown, put it back into the community throughout intergenerational farming is something that's going to be very helpful moving forward. But this right here is really, again, an intersection of public and private entities and groups to reach out to people who some are self-isolating. You know, we've talked a lot about the mental health challenges, the child rearing challenges, you know, and this goes a long way, because we all know you have to, if you're trying to function to the best of your ability, you must be fed and you must have shelter. So we certainly could do more. And I'm sure we will do more, because that's what this council is about. And the only other thing that I wanted to add to that is that just, you know, that particular report here, part of the ask in that order was about what steps still need to be taken to make sure that no residents go hungry. And I think that's the tenor of this council. So really like to hear, I don't know if the administration can share at all about clarifying what's afoot right now, what's sort of in queue as it relates to food insecurity, as it were.
Okay, going into your second 5 minutes, Mr. Manager.
Well, as I mentioned before, there are, even in the President's bill, COVID relief bill, additional federal dollars that are being talked about. We'll see what comes out of that process, increasing SNAP benefits and other kind of food-related assistance. Congressman McGovern's been a big leader in food insecurity issues and advocating for additional dollars. And the state of Massachusetts has identified food insecurity as a major issue and has talked about these food boxes that can be distributed at the testing sites, et cetera. And then we work in partnership. Many of you either were a part of or have seen in the media, Worcester State University, the WooSox, others doing food distribution at Worcester State on multiple weeks. So, and we support all of those efforts wherever possible. So being engaged with the community, listening to the community, being at the table, whether it be through Together for Worcester or other forums, and when there's an opportunity, the city tries to step up and step in where we can add to the community-led efforts to meet the ever-changing needs, and they do change as time goes by. The other thing I would mention, and much to the credit of the school department, is during the height of the pandemic, almost no time was lost with setting up sites where families were able, I think there were nearly 50 plus sites around the city where families and their children could come and pick up school lunch school lunch meals that were prepared, as well as ones for weekends, et cetera, that really kept that important lifeline to Worcester Public School students and their families connected, even in the height of the pandemic. And that was an important effort that, Donna Lombardi and all the folks at the Worcester Public Schools had a chance to go up and visit them at the tech school, chopping vegetables, healthy produce, a lot of it locally sourced, really, really important kind of lifeline for a lot of folks in the community.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Would like to, based on that, would really like to see a report back on, when those federal dollars come in, the state dollars come in that are specifically designated for food insecurity. If we can get an immediate report back on that as well, that would be definitely helpful. And we know that, here in the city, land available to grow food is at a it's at a premium. We don't have lots of that, and would really to see how we continue to develop. I certainly appreciate all the work that the administration, Dr. Castile, has done on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor King. I think we had Councilor Rose and Wally.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay? Because my internet is going in and out. Okay, thank you. I was actually going to request insight into the federal dollars that have been teased from the president and others, so I appreciate the manager expressing that and Councilor King requesting a report in and around that. And, I will just say that food insecurity is something that is a challenging every facet of our city currently. And I will say that I had the privilege of sitting on a couple of calls, and it's just the team of people and the leadership and so on is just tremendous to observe. And I don't know who said it, but literally anyone who wants a meal, people are going out of their way to try to figure out how to make it happen for them. And I just want to also say is that, when COVID first came around, no one really knew how long it was going to be here. I think no one predicted that it was going to be here for a year, and that this team of people just continued to plug away and plug away and plug away over months and months and months as people became more fiscally challenged, people losing jobs and school being out for as long as it's been and so on, and they just continue to rise to the occasion, and it's really, really, truly impressive. And I think one of the things that we're doing in COVID that history is going to reflect very kindly on us for. So I'd like to thank the administration, Dr. Castile and Councilor Rivera, who spearheaded some of these things as well, and obviously the community stakeholders and partners, public and private. I think this is going to go down in history as a really tremendous thing when this is all said and done. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And I should let you know, too, that Cassandra from Public Health is on the line, too. So we have Councilor Wally, followed by Councilor Merrill Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just reiterating some of the other talking points. We have a great public health department, and as seen in the report, their facilitation has had tremendous impact. I also want to mention we talk about this constantly, but one of the benefits of Worcester are the nonprofit organizations and service providers we have. And again, this report goes into detail about those organizations. But I do want to give mention to the business community. And Councilor Rivera did mention it, but I do want to make sure that their work in this type of effort doesn't go unrecognized. And if you look at the banks, the credit unions, the insurance companies, other businesses who are putting their money forward for these types of efforts and providing funding for nonprofit organizations, I think, we are tremendously lucky to have a business community such as what we have in Worcester. And then if you look at the private family foundations, as well as the hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals who are giving their own private dollars as donations to many of these nonprofit organizations, it's just a tremendous holistic effort in Worcester for everyone who's contributing to those who are hungry. So I just wanted to recognize that aspect of this program and those businesses that are contributing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Wally. Councilor Merrill Carlson.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. First, I want to start by saying that how much I appreciate this report, because it really tells us you know, what's being done in this community, which is certainly a tremendous amount. But I think everybody knows, as we've talked about, food insecurity is really a problem right now, not only here in Worcester, but in this country. The one question that I had is, I know Councilor Rivera, along with the city manager, talked about the $100,000 for the Hot Meals program. Was that money through the chair to the city manager? That $100,000, is that the city, or was that from the Worcester Together Fund?
Mr. Manager?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, it was from some of our COVID allocations, and we sent it on to be co-joined. I think the United Way put up about $500,000, and then there were some other private funding sources that went to that. But we were approached, and we were happy to take some of our COVID relief and add it to the mix because we felt like it had a two-pronged benefit. It was helping folks who needed those hot meals, but it also went into the businesses that helped kind of give them some much needed business, that was a two-pronged benefit.
So through the chair to the city manager. So when you talked about the $100,000, is that we, the city, gave the $100,000 out of the CARES Act, or was that a $500,000 from the United Way and $500,000 from the city of Worcester?
So the block grant dollars were the $500,000 in the report. The COVID dollars, $100,000 went to the Hot Meals program, and then the United Way, through their own sources, had another $500,000 for the Hot Meals program.
Okay, thank you. And through the chair to the city manager, or maybe to the health department, in terms of our seniors, are we, so I know that there's an awful lot in this report, which I really appreciate all the work that went into this, but how are we addressing some of the seniors? I know that there's lots of places that people can go and get food, but is there a way in which the seniors are getting food at this point?
Is Cassandra on the line? I know we give City of Worcester, the Meals on Wheels gives them over 5,000 a week. But Cassandra, do you want to answer that? Or?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I was just going to actually thank you. This is Cassandra Anderson from the Division of Public Health. I was going to repeat what you were just saying there, that many of the seniors are using the Meals on Wheels program, and there's also the REC has delivery that they go to some of the housing complexes, and if you have some of those benefits, then some of those seniors can pick up fresh fruits and vegetables as well from that the Regional Environmental Chemicals Program. But one of the things that is happening soon that we have heard from the state is they have a new program to get additional funding out. They actually did research based on us here in Worcester and how we were doing the Hot Meals delivery program, and came up with a program statewide to assist in getting more food to people who are COVID positive. And we've been told that within a few weeks, there'll be a way for the city to order gift cards that could be delivered to people who are COVID positive as well from grocery stores. We don't know exactly what grocery stores yet, but because we do have this Hot Meals delivery program for COVID positive people in the city, we believe that we'll be able to increase the number of people who are served by that program with these additional gift cards from the state. We have some information now, but sort of limited information. So we're waiting for that to be fully rolled out with the gift card option.
That's great. Thank you. And just want to follow up on, I know that a couple weeks back, I had put an order on, which is really the same order that Councilor King just talked about. And again, I think that, you know, what we're doing is fabulous, and it's, as Cassandra just said, the state is modeling much after what we're doing. But if there's an opportunity for us, and it looks like with some federal monies and even monies from the CARE Act, if we can do more where more is needed, I just, you know, again, I think we're doing a lot, and I appreciate all that we're doing, but I also do think that if there's a way, and this was in my order a couple of weeks ago, if we could do more, I believe that we should. And again, I just want to also reiterate what Councilor Wally has said, is that, you know, kudos to the business community, because I know a lot of the restaurants certainly have stepped up to the plate, but also a lot of the businesses have, but our nonprofits, and certainly Worcester Together is something that the rest of the country should model after, because they've done an unbelievable job during this COVID. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And just also mention that since March, the senior center's put out over 29,000 calls to our seniors, and the Hot Meals program is over 16,600 served the families. So people with COVID positive 19 who are vulnerable can get up. But we have, I think, did I get Councilor? I don't want to go over. I know Councilor Rosen. Was anybody before Councilor Rosen? No. Sorry, Councilor, you're up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A few weeks ago, I initially filed this order, and obviously, as we see, had loads of support, unanimous support really on the Worcester City Council, and that was great to see. And the report came back, and it's an excellent report, and it does show that Worcester is doing a heck of a lot when it deals with food insecurity and issues, hunger issues that the community has, not only due to COVID, mostly due to COVID, but we had some issues obviously pre-COVID, and I think we're even doing a better job addressing those now. But there was a caller earlier in this meeting who did kind of take a slap at the administration, the council, for not doing enough and not spending enough. And I hope she did read the report, and I would recommend that she goes back and reads it again, because you know, we do here in the city council and here in the administration and all our departments and business community and everyone who deals with the city of Worcester and tries to make it a better place. You know, we do get slapped around a lot, whether it's about the WooSox or it's about ShotSpotter Connect or it's about the Worcester Green Plan, and we can go on and on and on. And probably some of the concerns that the public expresses, you know, are justified, and we try to do better. I think we're doing a great job when it comes to food insecurity. You've heard tonight, Public Health Department, Worcester Together, United Way, the Worcester Public Schools, our Regional Environmental Council, Meals on Wheels, the Food Bank, the business community, the Worcester Senior Center, and that list can go on and on and on, because we are working hard to meet the needs of the community. As Councilor King said, we probably can do more. We can always do better. We can always do more. And I'm sure that's the direction we're all headed in. So I compliment the administration, the Public Health Department, the public schools, the business community, everyone for working together. Worcester Together, as you said, Mr. Mayor, just an amazing organization. I mean, history making, as someone said, when we look back at this year, last year, and we look at what Worcester Together has done for the community during COVID, but even more so, that word together, okay? That's a foreshadowing of things to come in this community. Someday we hope, after vaccines are widespread, people are healthier, COVID is maybe behind us, mostly behind us, we hope. Okay, Worcester Together is going to have set the path for people in this community to work together, to pool their resources and their ideas and their talents. And that's what I look forward to on the council the rest of my term, and in the future, staying here and working with the folks in the city of Worcester. Just maybe one question, maybe to the city manager. I know pre-COVID we had some concerns about food insecurity among college and university students. Obviously, Worcester is a college and university town. Do we have that with COVID? Has that been especially bad for college students? And maybe it hasn't, because maybe classes are virtual now, and students aren't eating during the day right at school. They're at home, and maybe that's a different situation for them. I don't know.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think as the council referenced, I haven't heard as much about it lately, partly because I think a lot of our colleges were in remote kind of operation in the past semester. Certainly something we could check on and see if that's a continuing need as students are kind of coming back in greater numbers than they were in the fall semester.
Yeah, maybe just in the form of a motion that we can get that information in the future at your convenience when you think the information is available. I think the City Council would like to know that, because we were concerned the last few years pre-COVID about university students and how some were going hungry. And tough enough to go study at the college and university level. If you're hungry, it certainly is a lot more challenging. So thank you to the administration, the Public Health Department, and thank you to the business community, and thank you to my colleagues on this City Council. We've all done a good job trying to, make sure that people in Worcester don't go hungry. We'll continue to work together as a body all together to make sure that our good work continues and people have enough food to eat, them and their families. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, and much appreciated. Councilor King, for a second time. You there?
There we go.
Yeah.
Just wanted to state again that this has been a good public-private partnership, but also wanted to say I brought up the issue of hydroponics and that sort of new push to deal with the issue of food insecurity. Really would like a report back so the council can be educated and myself can be educated on how that can help this hunger problem. There is a new program, Worcester Together We Eat, that I would ask the administration perhaps partner with and kind of trying to share and educate us on this attempt to provide healthy eating in the city goes. That would be definitely helpful. And as far as being slapped around, I think we all here on the council have pretty tough skin, and it's part and parcel of being an elected official. Is listening to the pushes and the pulls and responding to pushes and pulls of our community, and I welcome it. Because that too will make us better. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So, Councilor Rivera, do you want that in committee, or we can send it to committee? And
that would be great. Thank you.
I just want to thank the community again, and the Public Health Department, and Cassandra, thank you for being on the line tonight, and thank you, Dr. Maddie Castillo, and the work she does. Okay, so we'll send that to Public Health. Roll call.
Mr. Mayor, just for clarification, along with those reports.
Yeah, we have two. We have an order for 2 hours from Christian King and 1 order from Councilor Rosa. So it's been those two also collectively.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Caloria?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Carlson?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Rosen?
Yes.
Councilor Russell? Yes. Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
Councilor Wally?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes. Okay. We have our next item is transmitting information communication relative to citywide programming for Black History Month. I don't know if you get a chance to read it. Maybe put on their Facebook pages. A lot of programs in February coming out with everything. So we can file that, or we can send that to MO. We can file that. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Caloria?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Carlson?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Rosen?
Yes.
Councilor Russell? Yes. Councilor Toomey? Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
Councilor Wally?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes. Okay, we have next item up is transfer information communication relative to the overview of My Brother's Keeper initiative. Council Rose, followed by Council King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, if I'm not being heard, please let me know with spotty internet tonight, unfortunately. So, when I proposed this order, I wasn't really sure, how it was going to come together, or how it was going to be aligned. I had the privilege of sitting on 3 different Zooms with the Obama Foundation related to My Brother's Keeper, and I am just thrilled at the opportunity that this is something that Dr. Castilla and the administration value as something that could be a good resource for us here in the city. And I like the direction that we're going on it based on the report and the community stakeholders who are going to participate in it. And I'm just over the moon. I think this is a real opportunity for us to strategize for young people, young boys and young boys of color to sort of move forward, academically, and mentors and so on. So I just want to commend the administration for figuring out how to play this Tetris game and figure out how this all works, given all the many things that we have going on, and valuing it and moving forward on this project. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have Council King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too appreciate this. As I mentioned when Councilor Rose filed this order, this is something that we've looked at in the past, and appreciate the leadership in filing that order. Also appreciate the response that we've gotten from city administration. What I wanted to point out was that I certainly would like also to be a part of this process. So if I could be included in that, it'd be much appreciated. Additionally, as it relates to My Brother's Keepers Alliance team, that particular aspect stood out to me. And the reason it stood out is like an enhancement of the initiative. That's occurred somewhat later, and there's a number of things that requires. There's also a pledge related to all of this. There's a pledge that's been made by a number of mayors across the country, a number of cities across the country. I've certainly taken the pledge as I researched this. And I really think that this is a step in the right direction. It's really about, making sure not only that there's mentors, not only that we're looking at the education gap, but that we're creating a safe community, a community that's about accountability as well. And part of the alliance is a commitment to all of those things. It's a commitment to public safety, alternative public safety, community-centered. And when you look at the alliance and the enhancements, it talks about police accountability reforms, community-centered innovations. It talks about how to create open public processes. It also talks about the future of public safety, insights from Black law enforcement. And there's a number of cities that have pledged as part of this initiative. And I'm looking forward to being a part of this My Brother's Keepers initiative in totality. And, it talks also about some of the potential key stakeholders in Worcester. I'd recommend that the Worcester NAACP be added to that list. The Coaches for Change group, a number of Black and brown and non-people of color coaches who've come together during this COVID process and done a lot of work. But you know, this particular item is so much more than it was back in 2017 when I first looked into it, when Boston adopted it. You know, and it's certainly a step in the right direction. So, you know, I'm happy to see this. Certainly would welcome this to come to committee, whatever committee that might be, for further review. And really would like a report back to the council on the entirety of this, you know, as we move forward, because, you know, this initiative continues to evolve, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor King. I was going to go to public health, but Councilor Rivera?
Yeah, I'd love to have this in public health. I just want to really commend Councilor Rose's leadership on this and really look forward to seeing this moving forward. There's so many really good things about this as you get a chance to look into it and research it. And really just appreciate Councilor Rose bringing this forward. I supported it when he first brought it forward, and I, just like Councilor King also mentioned now, this including so many great organizations that are doing really great work. So I'd love to see this in public health, and actually would love to have Councilor Rose and other councilors that be interested to partake and just figure out how we can continue to support this and move this forward.
Thank you, Councilor Rivera. So the motion is to send that to public health.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilor King?
Yeah. Again, and if we could also, as a way of an order, if we can get the reimaging of policing pledge provided to the council so they know all aspects of My Brother's Keepers initiative and what it entails.
Okay, so you just want that, the pledge? Okay. Okay.
Like a report back to the council on that, what that is, so they can understand what exactly the city's doing.
I don't know what the mayor's pledge is, so you just mentioned that too.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same. It's all the same.
Oh, it's all the same? Okay, I'd like to sign on to that too. Okay. We'll get the pledge, and so collectively we'll send that to public health and also the pledge. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Gloria?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes. Yes.
Councilor Foster?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Rosen?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
Councilor Wally?
Yes.
Mayor Pike?
Yes. 8.26A, transmitting information communication for the municipal broadband. Councilor Wally?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to commend yourself and the administration for coming back with a report in an expedited manner. I think it's a good task force. I think as we move forward, it's going to be important to engage the entire community because, of course, you can't put as many people who want to participate on a task force. You know, we've talked about the digital divide, which has sunshine on it during the pandemic. We know how broadband, or the lack of broadband, or the lack of reliable broadband certainly affects the economy, certainly affects education, public health, and I look forward to this process moving forward. We know that we need cheaper, faster, and more reliable broadband. And if you look at it from a big picture, we need more competition. I think in the last few weeks, we've had an order at every council meeting regarding the lack of internet access or the lack of reliable internet access. If I look across the state and I look at other cities that are looking at this, one of the best efforts is being put forth by the Quincy City Council in December. A 50-page robust and substantial broadband master plan was presented to the Quincy City Council. And I think as we look at this task force, what we're looking to do is we're looking to just come up with an understanding as to, do we want to look at this further? We know the impact on the infrastructure. We know the cost is going to be very high. So I think this task force hopefully will come back at some point to provide us with more feedback to say, does the city of Worcester want to continue going down the path to creating a municipal broadband network. But again, the infrastructure costs, the impact on the budget, it's certainly real dollars, it's high dollars. But I think as we've seen over the last 9 months, it's certainly important to look at this as we go forward. So I'm glad to be part of the committee. I look forward to more to come, and hopefully this will be referred back to the Urban Technology and Innovation Committee so we can talk about it more and give a chance for the public to weigh in. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have Councilor Toomey was next, then Councilor Russell, I believe. Councilor Rivera, do you have your hand up? I just still. Okay, Councilor Russell after Councilor Toomey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could we also include in this report that comes back what the potential impact on the business and economic development having municipal broadband availability would do for Worcester? And from a cost-benefit analysis, it actually could offset any cost by the increase in business and the ability to be able to attract business because of that unique opportunity and offering. So that's in the form of a motion.
Okay. Whose motion? Do we have Councilor Russell?
Mr. Chairman, I like the report. I like the fact that yourself and Councilor Wally and all the other folks that you put on this committee are going to get together and look into this issue. But through you to the administration, Mr. Manager, when is Spectrum Charter, when is their contract up? Do we know roughly? I know you probably don't remember off the top of your head exactly, but I'm just wondering, because I remember the previous city manager renewed it, I think, just before he left. And then I know they were in discussions with you at one point during your administration, but do you know roughly how long?
Yeah, and Mr. Trainer can probably jump in because he does the actual negotiations, but I want to say it's like 3 or 4 years out.
Mr. Trainer, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Through the chair, yes, it's 2023. The cable license expires. We do not license Spectrum in the internet services.
So could you elaborate on that, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Trainer?
There's a federal cable act, but there is no federal oversight over internet services. Back in the 1990s, I believe it was, U.S. Supreme Court said that internet service is an information service and it's not regulated by the FCC or states and cities.
Okay. So even though through you, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Trainer, so even though the connection comes through a cable wire, it doesn't matter. So what we're saying is that we really haven't granted Charter or Spectrum any exclusive rights to, or any rights for that matter, to operate the internet in the city of Worcester.
Through the chair, that's correct. They have built out a fiber optic system to deliver cable services to homes, and through those same fiber optic cables, there's bandwidth that they can then use it for internet services, which is what all cable companies do.
And as through Mr. Chairman to the administration again, when you go to other communities and they have Verizon and then they have their cable company, the main reason why Verizon has not made that financial commitment to Worcester is what? Do we know?
Through the chair, over decades, it's always been, first of all, under federal law, you cannot have a cable franchise just to one company. Anybody can come into a community. Other companies have not come into Worcester because of the cost of building out a redundant system throughout the city. At least that's what I've heard over the years. Again, back in the 90s when I spoke to RCN, when Verizon first started, they went to communities where they could roll out above ground wires very quickly, very easily. And there's also been studies to show that when they've done competing cable companies within a community, they just basically take up the pie and cut it up into smaller pieces. There's not enough subscribers. So it's just an economic issue that no one has ever wanted to come in and build a second system in the city.
And with the influx of 5G and God knows how many G in the future, that there probably isn't a large incentive for new companies to come in. But as far as we know, and I this is good information because I get this question often asked to us, or asked to me, is it why is Spectrum Charter the only game in town? And I'd like to, in the form of a motion, just to have the administration come back with a report to see what they've done to reach out specifically to some of the other providers that are out there now. I know this broadband and this is going more in the 5G direction, I believe, and I think that's good. But it's very disappointing that we've never had more than one company offering this service.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Russell. So we'll send that to Councilor Rose, followed by Councilor King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the things that I get asked quite a bit is, how did we get to this place with Spectrum and when is their contract up? Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Trainer or somebody, it might be nice to just give a brief history on that, and even in the form of a motion, maybe to include to Councilor Russell's report, just kind of where that history came from, so people know. People move into the city, they don't realize that, what we know, that this contract was put in place many, many years ago. And so just a little history there, and just a motion, if a friendly suggestion to Councilor Russell, and just adding a little bit of that history to his report, Mr. Chairman. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. We got a report from Councilor Russell, Toomey, and Rose, and Councilor King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, appreciate the leadership on this from Councilor Wiley and others. Just wanted to comment that, some of the things that jumped out from the page in regards to, obviously, disparities as relates to schooling is the expanded healthcare through telemedicine. We know that our elderly, our most vulnerable, really need that access. I know as a frontline social worker, being out in the community every day, that folks also need access to their clinical and therapeutic supports. And not having that is like losing a lifeline in many instances. And that kind of connectivity becomes increasingly more important. So I certainly appreciate this endeavor regarding looking into feasibility. I did have a comment on the ad hoc committee, as it were. I certainly think that given the disparities and the telehealth challenges and the disabled community that was mentioned, that there might perhaps be some stakeholders that are not on this list. I don't see any teachers on here. I appreciate the expertise that was identified, but I think firsthand input from people on the front lines is just so important. There's no union representation here, no social workers or adjustment counselors. And it looks like we're waiting on someone from WPI that could perhaps increase the diversity of this ad hoc group. But we'd like to encourage the administration to consider adding those sorts of stakeholders to this ad hoc group, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
And I'd like to make that in the form of a motion.
All right. Okay, so we're going to send this to Councilor Wally's committee.
Mr. Chairman, before we do that.
Councilor Rosen, I didn't see, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, thank you. I just want to inform the council of an order that's been on my Public Service and Transportation Committee for maybe a year and a half, and during the last year we've been concerned with WRTA, but we'll certainly try to take this order dealing with Spectrum, Charter Spectrum, up and during our March meeting. And the order is, in light of Charter Spectrum sweeping rate increases that will hike the cost of TV packages, internet service, equipment, and fees, request the City Council Standing Committee on Public Service and Transportation hold one or more public hearings. 2, Number 1, survey customer satisfaction with this provider. Number 2, review the fairness of their rates for TV, internet, and telephone services. Number 3, review the city's cable franchise agreement with this company and determine what future changes need to be made to lower costs and improve service. Number 4, determine whether our 3 PEG channels, public, educational, government access channels, are receiving the financial and other support that they are entitled to through our franchise agreement. And if in a future contract they can be located on channels in the basic tier. And number 5, discuss the feasibility of inviting other companies to provide service to the city of Worcester. So that is on our agenda. I'll try to get that moving forward and have some public hearings starting in March, because we do have a couple of years available before we renew this contract. But for the next contract, we want to make sure it's a contract that certainly will serve the needs of the people here in the city of Worcester. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Is cable still in your committee, Gary? I can't remember. But,
Cable TV, yeah, it is. We've just been doing transportation the past year, so we'll work on cable this year too.
Okay. Okay. So collectively, we have those orders by Toomey, Rose, King, and Rosen. So and Russell. Sorry. So we will send that to Urban Technology. So a roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Caloria?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Carlson?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rhodes?
Yes.
Councilor Rosen?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
Councilor Wally?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes. Okay, so we have planning plan. We have 8. We can take them collectively. 8.32A, 8.34A and D, 8.35A and D, and 8.36A. Can you talk on the roll call? Roll call. Now, before I do this, so Council Corio, you're on mute. You're on mute, Council Corio.
Are we doing 8.29? Did you say?
Did I miss 8.29? I'm sorry. I did miss 8.2.9. I'll go back. Sorry, Council Corio. So.
Thank you, because I have a question. Thank you.
Sure, we did miss that, so I'm going back to 8.29A. Transferring information communication relative to the fiscal year 2021 financial update. This is December 31st, 2020. Council Corio.
Thank you. To the city manager, I just would like to know if I could get a report on, at the beginning of the coronavirus, we had several positions that were frozen that we never filled. Could we get a current list of positions that we have not filled? Because it says here that we're still continuing limiting hiring and capital outlay requests. So if we can get a report on the jobs and just a general breakdown, not specific jobs. You could put 30 that are not filled in the Department of Public Works, 3 in Department of Public Health, X amount, just so we know where those jobs are still vacant. And just compared to, I want a comparison of when we began this process of not filling these jobs and where we are today. Thank you.
Okay. We have, next we have Councilor Wally, followed by Councilor Russell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to again state how important these statements are to receive as a body, and also for the public to have a chance to look at these. And over the weekend, I received 2 separate calls with a question about a line item, and it has to do with ordinary maintenance. All of us on the council know what ordinary maintenance is, but just for the public's knowledge, if Mr. McGurthy's on the line, could he explain what ordinary maintenance is as it is showing up in the financial statement?
Mr. McGurthy?
Through the chair, ordinary maintenance serves as the operational cost for each department. So the kind of 2 primary elements of the budget by department are the salary piece, which is often the largest, and then ordinary maintenance, which deals with costs around securing paper, providing leases for photocopy machines. Depending on the department, if it has leased property that it inhabits, the lease would be within that area. But it's essentially any cost to the department that is related to its general operations and is not a salary cost.
Thank you.
All set? Okay, so Council Russell?
Chairman, just a friendly amendment, if Councilor Calorio would allow it, is that when her report comes back, if the administration could also put a dollar amount next to that, not only the amount of positions, but the amount of money that those positions represent.
Okay.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Thank you, Council Russell. I think we're all set then. So we're going to refer this report to MO. We're going to take the reports requested by Calorio, Russell, amended by Russell. Roll call.
Council Bergman?
Yes.
Council Calorio?
Yes.
Council King?
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson?
Yes.
Council Rivera?
Yes.
Council Rose?
Yes.
Council Rosen?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes.
Council Toomey?
Yes.
Council Wally?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes. Okay, we get the finance items, 8.32A, 8.34A and B, 8.35A and B, 8.36A. We'll take them collectively on the roll call. Roll call.
Council Bergman?
Yes.
Council Calorio?
Yes.
Council King? Council King?
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson?
Andy?
Councilmember Carlson?
Might be off the answer.
Yes.
Oh, yes, okay.
Council Rose?
Yes.
Council Rosen?
Yes.
Council Rivera?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes.
Toomey?
Yes.
Council Wally?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes, that brings us to table under privilege. Communications City Clerk a draft of social media policies and procedures for City Council that the Facebook City Council has created, including formation of the best practice using the community. Councilmember Carlson, do you want to hold this or?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would ask, could we hold this under privilege again, please?
Sure, you need 4 votes to do that, so roll call.
Chairman?
That's correct.
Prior to the vote, Council Russell?
Mr. Chairman, what's it, we're holding it under privilege a second time, or why don't we just table it? Is that the same amount of votes, or is that different?
That's different. I think some people like to hold on to privilege because we can table it next time if it's not. So it gives us 2 more opportunities. So. The motion is to hold on to privilege. Councilor, do you have a procedural question too?
No. No, I don't.
I say to me, I thought I said Councilor King, but. So, no, I'm sorry. So roll call on the.
Council Bergman?
Yes.
Council Calorio?
Yes.
Council King?
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson?
Yes.
Council Rivera?
Yes.
Council Rose?
Yes.
Council Rosen?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes.
Council Toomey?
Yes.
Council Wally?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes. Okay, it brings us to the end of the meeting. So,
Chairman.
you want to go into suspension? So take a motion to go into suspension. Roll call.
I just had a quick question.
Now you get to go into suspension. We'll do a roll call.
It's about that last order. I just had a question on it. I just voted.
Oh, okay. Okay, before the suspension? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So, on that order, part of that order is to refer it back to committee, right?
No, the order right now is to hold it.
Yeah.
Under privilege, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor, do you want to go into suspension? Okay, roll call.
Council Bergman?
Yes.
Council Calorio?
Yes.
Council King?
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson? Councilmember Carlson?
Yes.
Council Rivera?
Yes.
Council Rose?
Yes.
Council Rosen?
Yes.
Council Russell?
Yes.
Council Toomey?
Yes.
Council Wally,
Yes.
and Mayor Petty.
Yeah. Okay, Council Rose?
Yes, very quickly, and I'm sorry to have to go through a roll call for this. If I knew that was the case, I might have just kept it to myself. But I just wanted to share that I had a lot of very positive responses from residents in District 1 with regards to how the city handled the snow. I'm not going to speak to any other district. I haven't been outside of District 1 today, but driving around and looking around and checking on different spots, I have not had this many positive response as it relates to a storm in quite some time. So just wanted to commend our new commissioner and to want to thank him for his efforts. There are a couple of things that requests of people want to go back in a couple of places, but all in all, it was a really different response from the residents today on a positive side as to how the city handled the storm. So thank you.
Thank you. Well said, Councilor Rose. Councilor Russell?
Mr. Chairman, I'll echo that. I think that the new commissioner and his team have done a great job. I always say you could tell the level of service based on the amount of times my cell phone goes off, and it only went off once today.
We can change that for you. Okay, so we are going all set. So next is a motion to adjourn and roll call.
Council Bergen,
Yes.
Council Loya,
Yes.
Council King,
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson, Council Rivera, Council Rose,
Yes.
Council Rosen,
Yes.
Council Russell,
Yes.
Council Toomey,
Yes.
Council Wally,
Yes.
and Mayor Petty.
Yes. Stay safe, everyone. And you know, over a year ago, we wanted to come in for the meeting. We would have canceled it. Now Zoom, it's like school. Never cancel. Thank you.